Hi, thank you for listening to Reformed Eve. Today I want to start with Psalm 2, and Psalm 2 talks about God's ultimate rule. It was written to celebrate the coronation of not only an Israelite king, but also the coronation of Christ, who is our eternal king. And the author of Psalm 2 was David. And here it is. Why do the heathen rage, and the people imagine a vain thing? The kings of the earth set themselves, and the rulers take counsel together against the Lord and against his anointed, saying, Let us break their bands asunder and cast away their cords from us. He that sitteth in the heavens shall laugh, and the Lord shall have them in derision. Then shall he speak unto them in his wrath, and vex them in his sore displeasure. Yet have I set my king upon my holy hill of Zion. I will declare the decree. The Lord hath said unto me, Thou art my son. This day have I begotten thee. Ask of me, and I shall give thee the heathen for thine inheritance, and the uttermost parts of the earth for thy possession. Thou shalt break them with an iron rod. Thou shalt dash them in pieces like a potter's vessel. Be wise now, therefore, O ye kings, be instructed, ye judges of the earth. Serve the Lord with fear, and rejoice with trembling. Kiss the Son, lest he be angry, and ye perish from the way, when his wrath is kindled but a little. Blessed are all they that put their trust in him. So a lot of the Psalms were called messianic because they talked a lot about Jesus the Messiah. A lot of the Psalms kind of had double meaning. So even though they talked about one thing, in this case it talked about the life of Jesus, talked about his death, resurrection, him in the future. David, who wrote this psalm, was a king, he was a soldier, he was a shepherd, and the prophet. And this psalm's talking about how the nations were rebelling and how they wanted to come to Christ to establish his eternal reign. So David might have written those words, or these words in Psalm 2, during the rebellion by some kind of heathen nations, even though he knew he was anointed and chosen by God. And even though sometimes he felt doubt, David knew that God would fulfill his promise to bring the Messiah into the world through his bloodline. And you can read more about the bloodline of Jesus in 2 Samuel 7:16 and 1 Chronicles 17:11 and 12. People often think that they will be free if they can get away from God, but everybody serves something. Everybody serves somebody or someone. Doesn't matter if it's a king, an organization, or just your own desires. Just the same way that a fish is not free when it leaves the ocean, and a tree is not free when it leaves the ground, we are not free when we leave God. The only route to freedom is by serving God. Only He can set you free, because He created you. When this psalm mentioned that God laughs, He's not laughing at the nations, but at their confused thoughts about power. It's kind of like how a father laughs when his 3-year-old brags that he can outrun him or beat him in a wrestling match. The father knows that the child has limited strength, and in this case, God knows our boundaries. Every nation thinks it's so powerful, but it has its limit, and God is only the most powerful. So if you have to choose between a nation or confidence in God, it's best to choose God, because God is powerful. He created the world. He knows about all the empires. But if you notice, power and pride have caused nations to fall. A lot of leaders today brag about their power. They want to rage against God. and even God's people. And they want to take over God's land and make their own empires. But God laughs at this because any power they have comes from Him. And God can take it away. So we don't have to fear tyrants because they're in God's hands. And God will judge them. So Christ is not only God's chosen king, but He's the rightful king of our lives and our hearts. In order to be ready for Christ to return, we have to submit to His leadership today. Thank you so much for listening to this podcast. I truly appreciate your time, and I hope that you have an amazing day and that this kind of gives you some food for thought. Remember that even though there's two paths to take, even if you're on the wrong path, you can always switch over and get on the God path. Have an amazing day, and I'll see you tomorrow.